A cold night. Dark clouds covered the sky. No stars, no moon. Then suddenly something broke through the clouds. A fireball. It was not a shooting star. It was falling too fast, too low. People looked up. Some screamed. Some ran inside. Object crashed into the forest just outside the small town. The ground shook. Trees caught fire. When it all stopped, there was silence. The next morning, the army came. They found a strange pod, half buried in the ground. Burnt metal, alien symbols, blue liquid leaking out. Inside the pod, it's a child, not a human child. He was small, maybe 10 years old, skin like silver blue stone, eyes fully black, with a soft glow. He looked scared, cold, weak. He said nothing. He had no name. The scientists took him to a secret lab. They ran tests, took samples, but he never spoke. He only watched them. Everyone was afraid of him. One doctor said he's not a boy. He's a thing, he might be dangerous. Another said, we should put him to sleep. Forever. But one person didn't agree. A young woman named Mara. She was a junior researcher. Not very important. But she saw something different. She looked into the alien boy's eyes and saw pain. Loneliness, like he had. Lost everything. Mara started spending time with him. She brought him food, toys, and books. At first he didn't react. But slowly, he started watching her. Then he started copying her movements. One day, he pointed at himself. Mara said gently, "Do you have a name?" He didn't answer. She smiled. "Can I call you Neo?" He blinked, then nodded once. From that day, Mara called him Neo. Weeks passed. Neo learned fast. He watched, listened, remembered everything. He still didn't speak, until one night. Mara was sitting by his bed. Neo was sleeping. He looked peaceful for the first time. Then suddenly, he whispered something in his sleep. A name, in perfect human English. Sarah. Mara froze. Who is Sarah? She checked the lab recordings. It was true he had spoken, and in human language. But how? He had never heard that name before. The next day, the head scientist, Dr. Karn, ordered tighter tests. He said this alien is hiding something. He's more than he seems. They planned to open his brain to see what he was made of. Mara begged them to stop. He's just a child. He's not a threat. But no one listened. Mara knew she had to do something. That night, she snuck into the lab. The cameras were off for system check. She found Neo sitting in the dark, wide awake, like he was waiting. "Mara," he said softly, his first word to her. Her eyes filled with tears. "You can talk, I remember," he said. "Pieces like dreams. Ship, fire. My mother's voice." Mara looked at him carefully. "Where are you from, Neo?" He looked up. "Not far, but not close." "We were running. Something was chasing us. What was it?" Neo whispered. "The dark. It eats stars." Alarms went off. Someone had triggered the security system. Mara looked at the door. They would be here in seconds. She grabbed Neo's hand. "Come with me now." They ran through the empty halls, past sleeping guards, past steel doors. Mara's heart was beating fast. Outside the building, the wind was cold. The night sky was clear. Stars were back. Neo stopped. He looked up at the sky. "What is it?" Mara asked. He pointed. "A star." "What?" "It used to be my home. But now, it's gone." Mara followed his finger. There was a small red star blinking in the sky. Then, stopped blinking. Gone. Suddenly, Neo fell to his knees, covered his ears, and screamed. Mara bent down. "What's wrong?" he gasped. "They're coming. They found me." "Who?" He looked at her, his black eyes glowing brighter now. "The ones who eat light." Mara had never run so fast in her life. Her lungs burned. Her feet slipped over the cold, wet grass. And Neo's small hand gripped hers tightly, almost too tightly, as if he was afraid she would vanish if he let go. Behind them, alarm sirens screamed, red lights blinked on tall fences. But they didn't look back. The forest swallowed them. Trees stood tall like guards in the night. The wind whispered through the branches. Everything smelled of rain and smoke. They didn't speak, not yet, just kept running. By the time they reached a clearing, both of them were shaking. Neo dropped to his knees, chest rising and falling like waves. Mara sat beside him, her heart racing, eyes scanning the darkness. I think we lost them, she whispered, mostly to herself. But Neo wasn't looking at her. He stared up at the stars. "What are you seeing, Neo?" she asked softly. He pointed at the sky again. "That red star, it's gone." Mara followed his finger. The spot where it had blinked before was now black. Just empty space. She felt a strange chill run through her. "That was your home, right?" He nodded. Double quotes, "How do you know it's gone?" "Feel it," he whispered. "My people, they were all connected. When they die, something breaks inside you." His voice sounded older than his face. It scared her a little, but she didn't show it. "What happened to them?" Neo hugged his knees. "The thing that chases light, finds warm places, then it eats them." Mara didn't understand fully, but something deep in her gut told her he wasn't lying. They stayed in the clearing for a while. The cold air touched their skin, but neither moved. Finally, Mara stood. "Come on, I know a place. We can hide for now." She took him to an old hunter's cabin deep in the woods. It belonged to her late uncle, and no one used it anymore. It smelled of dust and pine. She lit a lantern and gave Neo a blanket. For a long time they said nothing, just sat by the weak fire. Then he spoke again. "They're going to come for me." Mara looked at him. "The people from the lab, or something else?" He shook his head slowly. "Not people. Not like you. Not like me either. Something worse." Mara leaned forward. "Then you have to tell me everything." "Remember?" Neo stared into the fire. "I wasn't supposed to survive. Our ship, it was the last. My mother, she was a leader, one of the few who had the sight. She saw the future. She knew something terrible was coming. She called them the Void Eaters. We had no word strong enough for them. So she used your Eaters." Mara felt her hands shaking slightly. "What do they eat?" "Light, warmth, life. They come from the black between galaxies. No stars, no sound, only hunger. When they found our system, we ran. My mother placed me in a small escape pod. She said Earth might protect me. Or maybe I could protect Earth." Mara swallowed hard. "Why Earth?" She said humans were different, stronger than they understand. Not in muscle, not in mind, but something inside, something that resists darkness. He looked at her with those deep, glowing eyes. She believed. "I could bond with one of you, that it might awaken something powerful. But I don't know how. I'm not ready." Mara didn't know what to say. Her world had flipped upside down in one night, but somehow it all felt real. Terrifying, yes, but real. You don't have to be ready alone, she said gently. "I'm here now, for the first time." Neo smiled. A small, sad smile. It didn't last long. A loud thud shook the cabin. Both froze. Another thud, outside. Something was walking through the woods. Not human, too heavy. Too slow. Mara grabbed the lantern and motioned for Neo to hide. He crawled under the table, wrapping himself in shadow. She peeked out the window. What she saw made her blood freeze. A tall, thin creature stood just beyond the trees. Its body looked like black smoke shaped into bones. No face. Just a swirl of emptiness where a head should be. Its long arms dragged through the dirt. Every step it took, the ground beneath it dimmed like light itself was being drained. It stopped and turned its head. Right at the cabin. It had no eyes. But it saw. Mara backed away slowly. She turned to Neo. "What is that?" He whispered one word, his voice like ice. "Scout." The lantern flickered, then died. Darkness swallowed. The room and outside, The creature began to move again closer. The darkness inside the cabin was thick. It pressed on their skin like cold, wet cloth. Mara held her breath. She could hear the creature now, its steps slow, deliberate, almost calm, like it wasn't hunting, but collecting. The wooden floor beneath her creaked as she backed into the wall. Neo stayed hidden, completely still. His eyes glowed faintly under the table, but not enough to be seen unless someone looked straight at him. Another step outside, and another. Then silence, no wind, no leaves, no breathing. It was standing right outside the door. Mara's heart thumped loudly in her chest. She tried to stay calm, but her hands were trembling. She reached for the old hunting rifle mounted on the wall, her fingers barely able to wrap around it. Suddenly the door creaked open. No one touched it. It moved on its own, as if the air itself had changed. The creature stepped inside, its long fingers dragged across the wooden floor. The walls began to darken as it passed by, paint peeling, lanterns dimming, even the fire in the stove shrinking. Like the life was being drained out of the room. Mara aimed the rifle with both hands. She had never fired a gun before, but it was all she had. She pulled the trigger. A loud bang filled the air, but the bullet passed straight through the creature like it was made of smoke. No wound, no reaction. It turned its head toward her. Still no face, still no eyes. But she knew it was looking. She fell backward, dropping the rifle. Her body shook as cold flooded into her bones. Then suddenly, the creature stopped moving. Something was happening. A low humming sound filled the room. Soft, but rising like a deep song without words. The creature turned. Slow and jerky, as if pulled by invisible strings. Its smoky limbs twitched. Then it stepped back. Once, twice, and vanished into black mist, hiding into the night. Silence returned. Mara blinked. She turned her head toward the table. Neo was floating slightly off the ground, his body glowing with pale blue light. His hands were outstretched, his eyes once soft, now burned like twin stars. Then he collapsed. Mara rushed to him. Neo, hey, are you okay? He groaned softly. It wasn't ready to attack. Just to scan. What did you do to? I told it, I'm not alone. I told it I remember. Remember what? He looked at her, eyes dim again, like the light inside him was fading. Who I am, or at least who I was supposed to be. The next morning, they left the cabin. It wasn't safe anymore. They traveled by foot through forests and back roads. Mara kept her head low, stealing food and fuel when they could. She hacked into a few systems using stolen devices and learned that the lab had released a fake story. A dangerous foreign experiment had escaped. High alert, no word about a boy, no word about the creature. Of course not. Nobody would believe the truth. They reached the edge of a desert 2 days later. There was a place Mara remembered. An old observatory built into a rocky hill, once used by space researchers, but shut down years ago. It was dusty, quiet, empty, the perfect place to hide, and it had what they needed. A working satellite uplink inside. Neo walked slowly past the old machines, running his hands along the panels. Some parts lit up as he touched them. He didn't need instructions. He just knew. Mara watched quietly. How do you know how to do this? I don't know. But it's like my fingers remember before my mind does. He stopped at a large screen. It came to life with a deep mechanical hum. Lines of symbols alien. And human began to appear. A map of space formed slowly, showing galaxies, stars, and black spots. One black spot was moving fast, toward Earth. Mara's throat tightened. That's them, isn't it? He nodded. They've been following me, tracking the pieces I carry inside. My blood, my code, my bond. Can Earth fight them? No. Then what do we do? Neo sat down. His body looked smaller today, weaker. There is one thing left. He reached into his shirt and pulled out a small, dull pendant. It was shaped like an eye, made of soft stone with a crack in the middle. This was my mother's. It holds a memory, a message. He placed it on the machine. The pendant glowed, then projected a small hologram. A woman's face appeared delicate, kind, and tired. She looked almost human. Her eyes were just like Neo's. Her voice filled the room. To the child of stars, if you have found this, then I am gone, and you are Earth's last hope. If you have bonded with one of them, it means you are awakening. The Void Eaters cannot be destroyed by force, but there is another way. The ancient link. 2 minds, 1 soul. Only then can the key be unlocked. The hologram flickered, then ended. Mara turned to Neo. Bonded with one of them? What does she mean? Neo didn't answer right away. He just stared at her, then said softly, She meant you. The observatory felt different after the message. Quiet, but not calm. Like the air was holding its breath. Mara didn't move for a long time. Her hands were resting on her knees. Her eyes were locked on the black screen where the alien woman's face had just disappeared. Neo didn't speak either. He sat across from her, staring down at the cracked pendant in his palm. You said she meant me? Mara whispered, double quotes. Yes, he replied softly. But I'm human. I don't have powers. I'm not special. You don't have to be special, he said. You just have to choose. She looked up, her voice careful. Choose what? To bond? The word hung in the room like a strange note from an unfamiliar song. Mara stood up, walking slowly around the room, trying to calm her breathing. What does that mean exactly, bond? Neo stood too, though slower. It's a deep connection, one that links thoughts, memories, emotions. On my world, it only happens once in a lifetime, when 2 minds see each other completely. Mara looked away. And what happens after that? Everything changes, he said. Our strengths mix, our weakness too, become more, but also more vulnerable. Will it hurt me? It might, he said honestly, or it might save the world. She didn't answer. Outside, the sun was beginning to set. Long red streaks stretched across the desert sky. Neo walked to the window. She sent me here because she believed. Humans carry something we lost long ago. Something strong enough to stand against the dark. Mara joined him at the window. What if she was wrong? He looked at her, and everything ends. That night, the stars came out early. They sat outside the observatory, on the rocky edge of the hill. The stars above looked close, like tiny white eyes watching from the dark. Mara broke the silence. I used to come here when I was little. With my dad, we'd look through the big telescope and pretend we were looking for aliens. Neo smiled slightly. Now you've found one. I didn't expect him to look like a lost boy, she said. I didn't expect her to care. Looked at him. Why me, Neo? There were others. Doctors, guards, people smarter than me, stronger. He didn't answer right away. Because you looked at me like I wasn't a thing. You said my name first. You gave me one. That's where the bond started. His voice was quiet, almost ashamed. But I don't know if I'm ready. If I open the bond, you'll see things I've buried. Pain, death, what the void did to my people. Mara placed a hand gently on his. Maybe I need to see. They can understand what we're fighting. Neo looked up. His black eyes shimmered. Not just with light, but something deeper. Hope. He nodded. Then come with me. They returned inside and sat facing each other on the metal floor. No lights. No sound. Neo held out his hands. Mara placed hers in his. Close your eyes, he said. She did then. A warmth. Not like heat, but like a memory of sunlight, she felt. Something moving inside her, not touching her body but her thoughts. Her heartbeat slowed, then dash images, not her own. She saw a silver city floating in clouds, children playing under twin moons. A giant hall filled with light, where Neo once stood beside his mother. Smiling, then the light faded. Screams. Black clouds covering the skies. Buildings turning to ash. Giant shape like a mouth made of stars, devouring everything. Mara gasped, but didn't pull away. She saw Neo in the escape pod, crying. She felt his fear. His loneliness, as the pod drifted through space, cold and dark. Until Earth's sun lit the window for the first time, and then herself. Through Neo's eyes, kind eyes. Warm voice, stranger offering food. Smiling without fear, she opened her eyes. He opened his. The bond was formed, but something else changed too. The machines around them had turned on, all of them, screens flashing, lights blinking, satellites connecting. One large monitor showed a warning in both English and alien symbols. "They found us," Neo said. On the screen, dozens of black objects were moving closer to Earth. Fast. But how? "I thought we were hidden." "They followed the bond, made us shine brighter. That's the risk." "Can we run again?" Neo stood, his eyes glowing again. "Stronger than before?" "No, we don't run this time." He touched the panel, and a new part of the screen lit up. A map of Earth. A signal flashing. "There's something buried here," he said. "Near a cave, deep in the mountains. It's left by my people. A final weapon, or maybe a key." "Can we reach it before they do?" "We have to." Mara stood beside him. "Then we go. Together." He nodded. Together. Outside, far in the night sky, something massive shifted in the darkness between stars. A shape with no face. Eyes that weren't eyes. And behind it, more shapes. More hunger. Earth would soon see what Neo had seen, and only the bond could decide what happened next. The road to the mountains was long and nearly silent. Mara drove an old solar truck she'd stolen from an empty supply base to town south. The wheels rumbled against the broken road as cold wind rushed through the cracked windows. The stars above were still. No moon tonight. Only the dark and the thought of what followed behind them. Neo sat in the passenger seat, wrapped in a thick blanket. He didn't shiver. He didn't blink much. He just stared out the window, watching the sky as if he expected it to fall. "What are you looking for?" Mara asked. He didn't turn. Shadows. "What? Can they fly?" "They don't fly," he said. "They slide. They stretch. They hide in silence until it's too late." Mara swallowed but said nothing. They drove for hours without stopping. Once, she noticed a strange fog rolling over the hills. It moved too quickly, swallowing trees like ink in water. But when she blinked, it was gone. Neo hadn't moved. He whispered, "They're close." By the time the sun began to rise, painting the sky in soft orange, the mountains came into view. Tall, sharp, covered in mist, wild and untouched. Neo pointed. "There between those two peaks, the cave is hidden beneath the third ridge." Mara looked at him. "What exactly is in that cave?" He took a breath. "A memory. A weapon. Of my people's last light." Before the end, they poured all their knowledge, their power, into one final object. It was made to protect, but only if it joins with the right bond. "US," he nodded. "You and me." They left the truck behind and began to climb on foot. The trail was steep and narrow. Rocks shifted beneath their feet. Cold air bit it. Their skin, the higher they went, the quieter it became. Even the birds were silent here. Halfway up, Mara stopped. Her legs ached, her lungs burned. She looked at Neo. He seemed to walk without pain, his body light, steady. "You okay?" he asked. She laughed weakly. "Yeah. Just..." Humans weren't made for mountain missions on 3 hours of sleep. He smiled. A soft, warm smile that reminded her of the boy he still was, beneath all the power, all the mystery. "We're close," he said. "I can feel it, like it's calling." They climbed higher. By late afternoon, they reached the ridge, and then they saw it. The cave. Not a natural one. Its entrance was carved, smooth and round, covered in strange symbols, some glowing softly. Alien writing, ancient and alive. Neo placed his hand on the stone. It lit up under his touch. The wall shuddered. Low hum filled the air. The rock moved. It slid open like a slow breath. Inside, a deep tunnel stretched into the mountain, lit by lines of soft blue light. The air was cold and still, untouched by time. They entered. The tunnel went deeper and deeper, until the light behind them faded, and only the soft lines on the walls guided them. At last, they entered a great chamber. It was wide, circular, and silent. In the center floated a crystal sphere the size of a heart, pulsing gently like it was alive. Neo stepped forward. "This is it," he whispered. "The heartlight." He reached out, but stopped. Something was wrong. Mara felt it too. Air had changed, was heavier, thicker, colder. Then they heard it. A sound like wind, but deeper, like a whisper with teeth, from the shadows above the chamber. Something dropped down, tall, black, shifting. Not smoke, not solid. Its body moved like dripping oil, yet it had shape-long arms, wide chest, mouth filled with endless dark. It had followed them. Neo turned, pulling Mara behind him. His body lit up with a burst of energy, but not enough. "Not here, not yet." The creature hissed. Neo shouted, "Run!" But Mara didn't run. She stepped forward. "Neo, the bond can." It unlocked the heartlight now. He looked at her, eyes wide. "If we do, you could." "We're out of time," she said. They grabbed hands, and the moment their skin touched, a heartlight responded. It pulsed dash once, twice, then exploded with light, not fire. Not heat, memory. The room filled with voices, images, energy. A flood of knowledge entered both of them at once. They saw the history of Nio's people, their rise, their love, their fall. They saw the first Voidator, born from a star that died wrongly. They saw how the bond human and alien was the only design ever made to resist the dark. Their bodies lifted slightly off the ground. Their hearts beat as one. And then the power came. Real, warm, brilliant. Mara's body glowed like the sun, Nio's. Hands burned with starfire. The creature screeched a sound that shook the mountain. They stood together, side by side. This time, they didn't run. They attacked. Light against dark, hope against hunger. Together, and the cave shook with the first blow. The explosion of light was not loud. It was quiet, almost too quiet, like sound had been pushed far away. The brightness filled every corner of the cave. Driving back the darkness like a rising sun, the creature screamed. But it was not a scream. Of Penet was confusion. It had never faced light like this. Not warm, not soft, but sharp and alive. It reached forward with its long black arms, trying to crush what it didn't understand, but it could not touch them. Mara stood wrapped in gold fire, her hair lifting, her skin glowing like morning. Neo floated beside her, his eyes too white. Stars, his hands burning blue. The bond had awakened something hidden in them both. Power older than Earth, older than even the stars. Together, they raised their arms. The light shot out. It hit the creature like a silent wave. Its body twisted, melting in places, its edges flickering like a broken shadow. It tried to form a new shape, a bigger one, but the chamber was against it. Now the walls, the air, the ancient energy. All of it pushed back. It screamed again, and vanished into the ground, pulled by invisible hands. Silence returned. Neo fell to one knee. Mara rushed to him. "Are you okay?" He nodded slowly. "It's gone. For now." "But not dead?" He shook his head. "They don't die like us. They unmake." That was only one. He looked at the heartlight. It was fading now, its glow soft and slow. "That was its last gift," he said. "It gave us the key." Mara sat beside him. Her body ached. Her breath was shallow. She touched her chest. "I feel strange, like something is moving inside me, not painful, just different." Neo looked at her, concern in his eyes. "Bond changes everything. We shared energy, thought, even biology. You're not the same now." "Am I dying?" she asked. "No," he said. "But you're not fully human anymore." They sat quietly. Mara looked at her hands. They looked the same, but she felt more. The mountain under her, the stars above, even Nio's thoughts, like soft whispers at the edge of her mind. She could feel when he was afraid. She could feel it now. "You're hiding something," she said. He didn't answer. "What aren't you telling me, Neo?" He looked down at the ground, then finally met her eyes. "If the bond breaks, you die. Mara stared at him. He continued, his voice shaking. That's why it only happens once. It's forever. I fall if I fade. You go with me. She didn't speak right away? Then why didn't you tell me before? Because you would have said no. Maybe I still would have said yes. He looked away. Shouldn't have to pay for a war that isn't yours. She stood. Became mine the moment I chose to care. Outside, the sky rumbled. They rushed out of the cave and looked up. Clouds were moving unnaturally fast. The sun looked dim, as if something massive was sliding in front of it. Nio's voice was low. They're here. In the distance, several black shapes floated in the air, silent, like scars in the sky. Not ships, not creatures, just ... Hunger given form. The heartlight had sent a signal when it activated. Now, the void was coming in full. We need to leave, Mara said. Nio nodded. But where? There's nowhere left to hide. Then we don't hide. She took a breath. We fight. They traveled back down the mountain faster this time. No more fear, only focus. They reached the abandoned observatory by nightfall. It looked smaller now. It's less like a safe place and more like a memory of silence before the storm. Mara stood. Before the satellite controls, her fingers flying across keys. What are you doing? Nio asked, sending a signal to the world, a warning and a truth. She activated the old broadcast system. Her voice echoed out across emergency lines, satellites, and private networks. If you can hear this, don't look away. They're coming. Not aliens. Not monsters. But a hunger older than time. They will not make demands. They will not speak. They will only take. But we are not powerless. We're not alone. They fear one thing. The bond. Connection. Light shared. Between souls, and we still have that? She ended the message. Nio stared at her, something like pride in his expression. What if no one believes it? He asked. They will. When the sky tears open, they'll believe. They didn't sleep that night. Instead, they stood side by side on the roof of the observatory, watching the stars disappear one by one, not because it was cloudy, but because the void was eating the sky. Mara leaned close to Nio. I'm not afraid, she said. He closed his eyes. I am, he whispered, but I'm glad I'm not alone. The world didn't end with fire, it ended with silence. Above the earth, the sky dimmed. Satellites stopped blinking. Night fell across cities, still waiting for dawn. No news anchors spoke, no presidents gave warnings. People stepped outside and stared upward, not knowing what they were looking at, only feeling it deep in their bones. The stars were gone. Something was covering them. A curtain of moving shadow. The void had arrived. Mara stood on the edge of the observatory roof, hair blowing in the wind. Her hands were trembling slightly, but she didn't hide them. She wanted to feel everything, the cold, the fear, the sky. Falling beside her, Nio stared at the horizon. They've begun feeding, he said. She didn't ask what that meant. She already knew it had started in the upper atmosphere. Satellites had blinked out, and communication systems died. Now, slowly, invisible threads were reaching toward Earth, pulling life away. One breath at a time. In the cities, people were collapsing. Animals were going quiet, not dead. Just still, frozen between heartbeats. They're not killing, Mara whispered. They're pausing us. Yes, Nio said. They don't destroy first. They erase movement. Light thought. They take the shape of life without the soul inside. Then we stop them. He turned toward her. His eyes were calm, peaceful, but something behind them was breaking. Mara, if we use the bond again fully, completely, it will burn us both. She stepped closer. We knew that, no, he said. Before we only opened a part of it. The heartlight woke a small piece, but this is everything. If we do this, there's no coming back. Mara looked up at the dark sky, at her home, her planet, her people all slowly going silent. I didn't come this far to go back. They joined hands the moment their skin touched. A current moved through them, not like before. This time, it was fire, real and alive. Not burning flesh, but something deeper. Their thoughts merged, not like whispers now, but rivers. Their memories collided, swirled, then became one. Nio's pain became hers, Mara's courage became his. Together, they lifted off the ground, not flying but rising. The observatory cracked beneath them. The ground around them split open. Light poured out from their skin, their bones, their breath. The sky above twisted. The void felt it. A ripple of movement ran across the black curtain above Earth. Then, one by one they came, shapes like ships but alive. Creatures with no mouths, only hunger. Long limbs made of liquid night. They didn't fly, they slid through space like ink in water. A dozen at first, then hundreds, then one, larger than the others. A shape that had no center, no top, no bottom. Just motion. A shadow so wide it blocked out the moon and the stars behind it. Neo's voice entered Ra's mind. This is the first one. She didn't need to ask what that meant. It was the beginning, and if they failed, it would be the last. The void moved toward them, and they moved forward to meet it, in the space between Earth's upper sky and space's black sea. Their bodies glowed like falling stars rising backward. They didn't speak, they didn't aim, they just opened. The bond burned fully now. Every memory, every fear, every joy. Mara saw Neo as a baby, laughing in silver water. Neo saw Mara on her father's shoulders, pointing at the stars. They felt every heartbeat, every tear, every dream, and then they exploded. Not into pieces, in two. Light, not a blast, not a fireball, but a wave. A wave of memory, of love.
Yeah.
Of everything they were sweeping across the sky. The void screamed, not in sound but in absence. It tried to pull back, to escape, but light is faster. One by one, the smaller. Shapes burned away, unraveling into dust. The large one twisted, trying to change shape, but the light kept chasing it, forcing it into truth, and truth was something it could not survive. With a final flicker of resistance, the first one reached toward the two glowing souls, trying to tear them apart. But there was no two anymore, just one, a bond unbreakable, and then silence. Again, but not cold this time. Warm, gentle, peaceful. The sky began to clear. Stars returned. The moon glowed again, all across the earth. People gasped air. Rushing back into lungs, birds cried out. Machines hummed to life. Life resumed, slow at first, then fully. Children pointed at the stars again. Farmers saw their fields begin to move in the wind. Doctors cried in hospital rooms as patients opened their eyes. No one knew what had
Happened.
but everyone felt it, like waking from a long, dark dream, somewhere deep in the forest. A child was born with silver blue eyes and a soft glow in their skin. Elsewhere, an old cave pulsed once with light, then fell silent forever. In a field far from the city, two small points of light danced. In the air, then vanished. The world moved on, saved not by armies, but by a bond, by a girl who chose to care, and a boy who chose to remember. The void had been strong, but they had been stronger, together.